what typically happens is you're given either or fallacies all over the place. And a lot of, I won lots of hearts and minds one day at Wisconsin when I insisted in a doctoral seminar that a course in logic should be required of all students going through a doctoral program in biblical studies. So I have just bounced around. I really appreciate providence. I had no sort of conscious direction at any number of points. And again, I just figured it's, I'll be okay. If God's really there, if he's in charge, he'll fix my boneheaded mistakes. He'll give me some direction when I need it. He'll impede me from just screwing things up too badly. I had these thoughts. And when I was in graduate school, like at Penn, I would do things like, okay, I want to know who the biased people are here, because we would, I'm reading like liberal scholars and stuff like this, and I'm okay with that. So I went up to the Semitics reading room at the University of Pennsylvania. This is the Ivy League. And I went through the stacks of the Semitics reading room to look to see how many books I could find that were published by an evangelical publisher. I found one. R.K. Harrison's Introduction to the Old Testament. Okay, and that taught me a great lesson. Again, I really believe that, look, none of these questions have been asked. There's nothing new under the sun here. There's going to be somebody who has had this question, who has thought deeply about it, and it's just, you need to give it time to go find an answer. So I would also do things like every degree that I pursue, I don't really know what exactly to do, but I'd like it to be harder and more antagonistic, because that's probably a good thing. Like if I'm supposed to get a PhD, this is what I'm going to do. And, I would just think thoughts like this. And maybe I was naive. I don't think I was naive. I think this is good theology. I believe that God would be okay. Scripture would be okay. None of these questions are new. And what's probably needed is some good creative thinking about the problem.
Well, tell me about antagonistic. Tell me what you meant by that. That's good.
Yeah, I wanted to be exposed to critical scholarship in the sense that the professors were teaching things and sort of were at the forefront of their field of ways of approaching Scripture that either I knew I wasn't, or I had been taught was bad, like was something to stay away from, like higher criticism and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you do is you learn that every approach to Scripture is presupposition driven.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side will often refuse to admit that. They're going to be just like the fundamentalists. Their system is objective. Of course it's objective. How could it not be objective? Like there's no assumptions driving the bus here. When there are always assumptions driving the bus. And so the question is, and with, there's going to be something worth thinking there, worth thinking about that's going to come through. And often the key is, how is a question or a problem framed? How do we approach, whatever the issue is? Are there really, what happens in biblical scholarship a lot, especially when it comes to, we'll just be broad now, evangelical versus non-confessional, non-evangelical. What typically happens is you're given either or fallacies all over the place. And a lot of, I won lots of hearts and minds one day at Wisconsin when I insisted in a doctoral seminar that a course in logic should be required of all students going through a doctoral program in biblical studies. And you can hear the crickets chirp. It's like, okay, I probably won't go down that road too far. It was just one of those moments where this is so obvious to me that I don't really find either of these trajectories terribly satisfying. So like, there's some cosmic rule that says I have to pick one. Like where is that? But if you question that, then there's something wrong with you, either in a fundamentalist context or in a liberal, critical, non-confessional context. And I just find that objectionable. And I'll confess, sometimes I find it entertaining, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sort of just the way it is. And I guess it's become kind of not a stick that I beat people with, but maybe a little stick that I jab people with every now and then, that, we ought to just admit that we do this. Like it's the most obvious thing in the world, but like, let's just admit it and try to come up with something better, take it apart, put it back together again, and noodle it.